Let's get right into it. This is my Catholic reversion testimony, from rapper to Rosaries. I was born into a great set of parents. My mom and dad were both raised Catholics. My sister's a little older than me. I have one sister, and we grew up going to church, right? So my parents were Catholic, their parents were Catholic, my grandparents were Catholic, and here in New Jersey, my Nana actually worked for the parish that I was born into and still go to today for 40 years. My Nana was very active in that parish. Born and baptized as a Catholic, a Roman Catholic, great upbringing, got into music really young. I was 5 or 6, and for Christmas, my Nana got me a CD player, a Discman, and from there I was hooked. Music was a big part of my life from the age of 6, 7, 8, 9. From then on, from 5 or 6 on, music, I just related to music so much. I went to Catholic school, actually that parish that my Nana was working at. I went to that Catholic school, which by the way, my mother went, my aunt went, both my uncles went to that same Catholic school, which was about 5 miles down the road of where I grew up. Very, very impactful on like family tree. So I went to this Catholic school from pre-K through 5th grade, and then after 5th grade I left and went to public school, to where 6th, 7th, and 8th grade I went to CCD classes so I can make my confirmation. I made my first Holy Communion and my reconciliation while I was in that Catholic school, of course. And then when I went to public school, I went to CCD for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and I made my confirmation in 8th grade. Pretty typical of someone who's just raised a cradle Catholic, who goes to church every Sunday with their parents, all up through 8th grade until I make my sacrament of confirmation. Mind you, during this whole time, especially the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, when I'm riding the bus to a public middle school, I am invested in rap music. Rap music is something that is in my ears all day on the bus. We're talking Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Kanye, Jay-Z. I was born in 94, so these are the rappers I grew up with. And rap music was something I fell in love with. I was just in love with rap music. And mind you, I think around middle school, this show came out called The Lil Romeo Show, where Romeo Miller, who's son of P. Miller, who was a rapper and entrepreneur, came out with a show where he was rapping and writing rhymes and recording and performing, and it was a show on TV. But that was my first introduction into like writing rhymes, I think in middle school. I was just fascinated with rap music. Rap music's in my ears. I have an iPod Shuffle, I upgrade to an iPod Nano. Music is something in my veins. Music makes me feel alive, and I fell in love with rap music simultaneously as I go to public school and as I go to CCD and I make my confirmation after 8th grade. I graduate from middle school, and I also graduate in the faith. I get confirmed in the faith. Now, growing up as a cradle Catholic, someone who doesn't really want to be invested in their faith, doesn't really want to go to CCD, it felt like graduation. When I was confirmed into the faith, which was a confirmation of my baptismal promises, I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like it was graduation. I can back off from the faith now. So I did have a good faith upbringing. It led me on the right path. God bless my parents. God bless my pastor. God bless my grandparents. My faith was a normal cradle Catholic faith. But after I graduated middle school in 8th grade and I made my sacrament of confirmation, it was a detour. Now, my parents always urged me to go to Mass, but I was a high schooler now, coming into high school, 14 years old, starting freshman year, and this is where everything sort of took off in 2 different directions. The first direction was music. I started writing, I think in the summer going into sophomore year of high school, I started writing raps in my basement. I remember having a Rock Band microphone, and that's all I could find at the time, and just downloading instrumentals, the background beats of a song, and just writing raps in my basement with a Rock Band microphone using GarageBand, and just making songs and songs and songs and songs. So like the 14, 15-year-old me started writing raps. That's when it really started for me. Simultaneously, I started getting into, some parties early, mid, late high school, and I started taking a little bit of a detour. I always had a good head on my shoulders, but I was clearly indulging in some of those things in high school, if you know what I mean. Parties and whatnot with friends and going after girls and all these things. It's a little blurry of how often I went to Sunday Mass, but it definitely started to dwindle. Faith wasn't a part of my life at this point. I was in high school, I was in sports, I was partying with friends, and I was writing raps. I wanted to be a rapper, and this dream of becoming a rapper started to take hold, and the seeds started to sprout at this time. So here we are, early high school, and I have this idea. I want to rap, I want to make rap music. It's in my blood, I feel it, I'm passionate, but I'm also like going away from faith. There's not much faith in my life. This continues throughout high school. I am part of a lot of friend groups. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm indulging in the things you would indulge in high school if you were into parties and stuff like that. And I am writing so many songs in my basement. I'm talking about in a 2 or 3 year span, maybe short of 100 songs, less than 100 songs, but so many songs. I'm just writing in my basement. I'm recording them on microphones. I'm making more and more and more music, and I'm building up years of experience rapping in my basement, making songs. It was a passion. Rap music flowed through my veins. So throughout high school, I didn't release a lot of this music because I didn't think I was good enough. Many songs recorded on GarageBand. My dream as sophomore, junior, senior year of high school progresses, my dream of I can make it rapping. I see these rappers that are getting popular on the internet. You know, this is 09, 2010, like these times, 2011. Rappers on the internet are getting well known. You're seeing them on YouTube and whatnot. I have a dream at this point that I want to be a rapper. I want to make rap music. Fast forward, I have all these songs, all this experience in my basement, and faith is not a part of my life. I looked at a few different colleges, some I was interested in, and I ended up going to a college at the beach in New Jersey. I go for health studies, but there's still this dream of wanting to rap. And even when I get to college, I'm making music in my dorm room. Like, I am making mixtapes and handing them out to other suites in the dorms. People that came across me knew me for making music. I was still trying to make this dream come to life of being a rapper. Here I am now at college, at university, and I'm not sure freshman year if I want to go music or health studies because I'm into fitness. Ultimately go health studies my sophomore year of college just because I don't want to go music industry route. I wasn't classically trained in instruments. I just rapped. I messed around on beats a little bit, but I just rapped. I wrote music. I liked rhythm. I liked rapping. I tried singing. You know, I would sing here and there. Wasn't the best singer, but it was rap music. That's what I was into, was rap music. Mind you, during this whole time, I would tell people I was raised Catholic. If people were to ask you, are you religious? I'd say, well, I was raised Catholic, but around sophomore year, I didn't have a strong faith clearly. Faith clearly wasn't back in my life. I still believed in God at this point. If you were to ask me, do I believe in God? I would say, yes, I believe in God at this point. I remember having a philosophy class once with a professor who I respected a lot, an author and a philosopher. I remember him saying he didn't believe in God. And it was the first time I really heard someone, you know, outside of my bubble. I go to college and here's this philosophy professor saying he didn't believe in God. And it was like a shock to my world. It was, maybe I was naive, but it was, how could you not believe in God? So I remember that memory. I say that because I still believed in God, but I wasn't going to church. I wasn't practicing the Catholic faith. I wasn't receiving the Eucharist. I wasn't going to confession. I wasn't going to Mass even on Sundays. I wasn't a practicing Catholic. So around the end of sophomore year of college, I started getting into meditation, binaural beats, just breathing exercises, because it was very stressful at college. These meditation practices really helped me to calm down and center myself. But they led me into things like these Eastern philosophies, like Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, and I started reading a lot of content on these Eastern religions and these philosophies. They were all centered around on being and mindfulness, which mindfulness is a great practice, but what I was really looking for is God and Jesus, and I didn't know that. What I had thought I was looking for was enlightenment, idea of enlightenment. So I would read many books on Buddhism, Taoism, and all these philosophies. I got very spiritual, very meditative. I would wake up and I would meditate by the beach, and I was someone who meditated, and I would say I was spiritual, but I clearly was not a practicing Catholic at this time. Music still continued during these times, and I ended up meeting a producer, which was like the first legit producer that I met when I was at the beach at school my junior year. I started going to his house, started going to his mini studio in his house. It was the first exposure to like producing and stuff. So I was still chasing this dream of being a rapper. That was a pivotal point because it kind of fueled my dream even more of wanting to be a rapper. I was still trying to make it as a rapper, making and producing songs, mixtapes and EPs and all these things I would put out. I would put out many projects. I started to put out some of these projects of my own at this time with music. Flash forward, I graduate from college and I'm still not back in my Catholic faith. I still have this proclivity to Eastern spiritualities, Eastern philosophies, meditation, and to try to find some joy, to try to find some peace, to try to find some regulation in my life, but not at all attached to Christianity. I end up graduating with a nice GPA. I do a good job at college, but music is still in me. I graduate with a health studies degree. I'm not back in my faith yet. I'm not going to church. I'm not a practicing Catholic, and I still have this dream of trying to be a rapper, but I have to be realistic at the same time. The first job I get is a personal training job, certified personal trainer. I get my first job at this gym, wellness center, cool wellness center nearby to where I grow up. And it's a good job, but mind you, I am still saying in my mind, I am going to be a rapper. I am going to make it as a rap. I end up producing my first album called Intuition, where I fully produced it, and it wasn't half bad. It was pretty good. I brought in cousins to sing and play trumpet. I brought in trainers and friends to play guitar. They came down my basement. I recorded it. I felt like John Bellion, bringing people in and just recording their music. So I end up producing my first self-produced album, which was decent, called Intuition, during this first personal training job. I'm in fitness, but music is still such a dream in me. Fast forward to October of 2017, when I am 23 years old. I have an uncle living out in California. I had visited him, multiple times before. This dream had always been in me to go to Cali and try to make it as a rapper. Go to Cali and try to make it as a rapper. I end up going out to California, long story short, and I leave and I go to the opposite end of the country, from New Jersey to California. I leave my personal training job, my family members, everyone I know except my uncle in California, all my friends. I leave it all behind in New Jersey and I go all the way to California to try to make it as a rapper from Jersey, just to try to make it, to try to make a name for myself. I go to the West Coast to try to make it. Mind you, at the time, I am still not back in my faith. I am still not a practicing Catholic. I'm still not going to church on Sunday. I'm still drifted away at the age of 23. So from 15 to 23, I was drifting for this whole time, away from the faith. I get to California. I have a job where it's a full-time job in retail, working at Lululemon, in Stanford. I'm going to open mics every chance I get. Every off day I get, I'm going to open mics. I'm researching where are these open mics here in California. I don't know the area. I'm just going to these open mics. I'm trying to make a name for myself, trying to get a little buzz as this rapper from Jersey. And although it's not LA, I'm just trying to make a name for myself. Oddly enough, God puts me in this non-denominational church, which has like a cafe with it, for an open mic. It's funny that God brought me to a church, even though it wasn't a Catholic church, but it was still a place of worship for these non-denominational Christians. And God landed me there for an open mic. And there I met a lot of great people I still know today and follow on social media today. But the crazy thing is, like, God brought me in a way to Christianity through music. I remember a kid even texting me that I met, asking me to join him in Bible study. I was almost so shocked. I'm like, no, I didn't even consider it for a second. Bible study, I didn't read the Bible. I wasn't back in my faith yet. But it's just funny who God places in your life at times when you need it the most. So anyway, God put that in my life during all these open mics and during all this time now out in California, where marijuana is legal, mind you. I'm just gonna say that. I'm out there, I'm living the Cali life, this rapper trying to make it, going to open mics, and here I am at this non-denominational church. God is like slowly coming back into my life, even though I'm not going towards God and I'm not necessarily open to the message. But that's just a little tidbit of how he planted a seed. Long story short, I spent 6 months out in Cali trying to make a name for myself as a rapper. It was an amazing experience out there. I was so not back into my faith that my uncle had to bribed me on Easter Sunday of 2018 to go to Catholic Mass on Easter with a steak dinner. He said, we'll go down to Santana Row and I'll buy you your steak dinner if you come to Mass on Easter Sunday. That's how much not back in my faith. My uncle had to bribe me with a steak dinner just to go to Easter Sunday Mass, the pinnacle resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's how back at church I was not. Fast forward, that was April. I ended up moving home early May of that 2018 year after six and a half months out in Cali. I moved back and I feel like a failure at this point. Everyone knew me as this rapper that moved from Jersey to Cali to try to make it. I gave my shot. Everyone had my back. People on social media thought it was the coolest thing. I was getting more views. I was creating a name for myself. And here I am back in New Jersey with no job, back with nothing. I felt like I tried to make it as a rapper and I failed. And I still didn't have God at this point because I didn't go back to him. He was always there for me, but I still didn't go back to the church at this point. Still trying to make a little music. And it was a decent salary for me at the time, and I needed something to come back on my feet. I needed stability, and I basically said, all right, God, I did my will going to California, try to make it as a rapper. Time to settle down. I took this job with a decent salary, benefits, and all that. Started to just build stability. Started to build some savings, still living at home with my parents at this point at the age of 24, back in New Jersey with this stable job. And it felt kind of good. I gotta tell you, it felt kind of good. I started to become very grateful. Very grateful. The largest gym within the area, the nicest gym. I joined this gym with an expensive membership because I had a good paying job, and I was going to this nice gym, living at home with my parents, driving a nice car. I had this good stable job, and I just looked around and there was so much gratitude in my heart. There was so much gratitude in my heart. Here I was as this selfish 24-year-old that put his will before everything to move to California to make it as a rapper, and here I am home as a failure, and God still just poured out his blessings for me and said, I'm still gonna give you all this stuff. The gratitude is what led me back to the church, to Jesus Christ. I looked around, I looked at the gym, I looked at the car, I looked at my family, I looked at my friends, I looked at the stable job I had, and I said, I need someone to thank. And that was the beginning. At the age of 24, the seed that brought me back to the Catholic Church. As a failure, I didn't feel like a failure anymore because I was so grateful. I said, God clearly doesn't think I'm a failure. Look at everything he's blessing me with. The funny thing is, I would go to the gym in the morning and I'd drive home at 6 a.m. every morning here in in New Jersey, driving home to my parents' house from the gym, and Steve Harvey had a radio show out of Philadelphia. At 6 in the morning, he would start his radio show. And Steve Harvey is a man of faith, I think, in Christianity, and he would just talk about God. For the first 10 minutes of his radio show, I'd be driving home, grateful, still not back in the church, still not going to church, but having gratitude in my heart. I'd be driving home and I'd hear Steve Harvey talking about, man, let me tell you, God's got a plan for you. God's got a blueprint. When I was down, God was there for me. And here I am just driving home every morning. Steve Harvey saying, when I was homeless living in my car, God was looking out for me. God would send me people. God never left me. God always had my back. And it was just like I'd drive home every morning with this tape on and I'd hear Steve Harvey talking about God this and God that, and God's got a plan for you. And I'd look at my own life as this selfish 23-year-old who left everything he had in New Jersey to go to California to make it as a rapper and impose my own will, to come back, be a failure, and to still be incredibly blessed and thrown back on track. I related to the fact that God never left me during all of this. And Steve Harvey's voice in the morning, oddly enough, pondering and like, yes, no, he's right. God's got a plan for me. God never left me. God's always got my back. Every step of the way, God was there. God is the reason why I'm breathing. God's why I'm successful. God is why, even though I failed, I'm back on my feet. I have to thank God. I am so grateful for God. Planted the seeds, and 2018 turned to 2019, and that Palm Sunday of 2019, I think it was April 22nd of 2019, was a mass for my pop-up. See, my nana, who worked at the parish for 40 years, rest in peace, my pop-up, her husband, she had masses for him and her parents, right? Masses said for them, and Palm Sunday was a mass for my pop-up. Now, my parents were still going to Sunday Mass this whole time, of course, and my grandma, right? I wasn't. But after all this unfolded, that April 22nd, 2019, Palm Sunday Mass for my pop-up, the Holy Spirit stirred in me to bring me to that 2019 Mass. At the age of 25, here I am, eternally grateful for so much that I said, I'm going to go to this Mass. I'm going to go to this Palm Sunday Mass. I don't know why, but I just feel called to go to this Mass. And it was great. Obviously, you have to start back somewhere. It was very slow. It was just my foot back into the door at the Catholic Church. Now, where does music play in at this point? Okay, I stepped my foot back in the Catholic Church. Now, I didn't have the intellectual knowledge of what I needed to know for the Catholic Church. You know, I wasn't privy to the doctrines. I was just back at church. And something about it felt very good. My relationship with God became alive again. It became alive. But I was still making a lot of rap music at this time. Music was still a thing in my heart. 2019 comes and goes, and 2020 begins. I'm still making a lot of music. I get a lot of beats from this producer, AJ Wilds. I start putting out a lot more music. I start making and writing a lot more in 2020, before COVID and even after COVID hits. I make one song that ends up doing very well called Champion. Today has over 400,000 streams on Spotify, with the grace of God. But that was like the only song that was big for me. I'm making music again. I'm into fitness. It's 2020. My relationship with God is growing. Things are really good. 2020 comes, September comes. They lift the restriction on gyms. I go back to the gym. Weightlifting was a huge part of my life as well. And I end up tearing my pec, bench pressing. I tear my pec and I need to have major surgery. And I'm 6 weeks in a sling. It's a 5-month recovery, and it destroys me. It humbled my body image so much. 2020 September through 2021 was a lot of growing with the Lord. I started listening to Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz. I was reading my Bible. I was becoming a stronger Catholic in that end of 2020 to 2021. And this severe major injury really brought me so much closer to the Lord. I know a lot has happened from 2021 until now. I end up recovering from my injury, but I'm not the same. I mean, something has changed in in me. I took a notch lower in my pride. I started to be more humble. My relationship with God really started to grow even more. I remember at 2022, Holy Week of 2022, I decided I was going to pray the Holy Rosary during Holy Week, every day during Holy Week. I think I ended up praying the Rosary maybe 5 out of 7 days of Holy Week. That praying of the Rosary in 2022 really was an unflowering of what was to come. I mean, I record this video today on July 23rd, 2024, the 1-year anniversary of my Marian consecration. That's how crazy it is. 1 year ago, I consecrated myself to the Blessed Virgin Mary through St. Louis de Montfort's method. The Rosary, ever since that 2022 Holy Week during Lent, completely took my life and threw me back into my faith. I say all this, so rewind a little bit. Here I am now, I recover from my injury, I'm growing in my faith, I'm growing in the church. I start lecturing at my parish, I start praying the Rosary, I'm reading the Bible, and I am just absorbing everything and getting stronger and stronger and stronger in my Catholic faith. And 2022 to 2023 and now 2024, it was just an unfolding. Now I'm praying the full Rosary, at least all 4 mysteries daily, and Mary has brought me so much closer to Jesus Christ. Our Blessed Mother has brought me so much closer to Jesus Christ. Eventually, I had to stop. I had to stop listening to a lot of the rap music because a lot of it was filled with cussing and a lot of the beats and a lot of the content. I ended up dropping that back in the 2020, 2021, 2022 eras, and the rapper in me that had this dream to grow into a rapper slowly died, and Christ was slowly alive in me again. From that first Mass in 2019 all the way to today has been such an unflowering of grace. I love the sacraments. I go to confession often. I receive the Eucharist often. I love the sacraments. I love the church. Mary's Rosary has catapulted me back into my faith. My devotion to the Blessed Mother has brought me so close to Jesus Christ and back to the Catholic Church. And now, I go to a local young adult group. I receive the sacraments often, and I am just so in love with the church. And it's the Holy Rosary that really catapulted me back into my faith. Once a rapper, now obsessed with rosaries. Now I'm here praying the Rosary all the time, every day. The Rosary has completely transformed my life. Our Blessed Mother has transformed my life. And now I am so in love with the church. God can take you wherever you were. I was a rapper who moved from Jersey to Cali to make it as a rapper with almost no faith in my life, indulging in the West Coast lifestyle, trying to make it as a rapper at open mics, to someone who's consecrated to Mary, praying the Rosary every day and in love with Jesus. That's where I am today. And only by the grace of God. All of this is possible with God. Only possible with God. I didn't do anything for this. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to have this clarity to bring me back to the church. I don't deserve to have this amazing life to where I could receive the Eucharist. That's the thing. But God's grace and His compassion and His mercy is so big that He could take a selfish rapper who moved to the West, indulging in the West Coast lifestyle with no faith, indulging, in Eastern philosophies, take him and put him back into the church because His grace and His mercy and His compassion is so good. And Jesus was waiting for me this whole time. He was waiting for me, and I strayed for 10 years, and He was waiting this whole time to bring me back to the church with open arms. And when I stepped back into that church in 2019, He said, "Welcome home." And He didn't care that I was a failure. Even though I did my own will, even though I failed as a rapper, even though I tried to do my own thing, even though I went away from the church for 10 years, He embraced me with so much love. And Our Lady has embraced me with so much love. And this Rosary has saved my life. And Jesus Christ has saved my life. And the Catholic Church has saved my life. And the Eucharist has saved my life. And confession has saved my life. And now I'm a devout Catholic here at 30 years old. Never would have imagining any of this as I was drinking a bottle of wine lonely on a night in California by myself on Christmas Eve, and my family's back in New Jersey, and I don't know what to do, and I'm trying to make it as a rapper, and I'm lost, and I don't have Jesus. And now you fast forward 6 years, and I'm madly in love with him. And now I'm madly in love with him. And I didn't deserve any of it, but it was all because of God's grace. It was all because of God's mercy. He took this rapper who tried to make it, who's on Spotify and Apple Music, not that successful, and transformed his life and said, I'll show you what I can do with your life if you just put it into my hands. And I said, all right, Lord, I'm super scared. But over the past 5 years, it's been an unfolding to do his will. It's been an unfolding to do his will and not to do my will. And every day has been a struggle to not do my will and to relinquish my will and to give him myself fully. Thank you, God. Now, I hope that this testimony, this Catholic reversion, could spark something in you to show you, look, I was in high school, I was partying, I was indulgent. I went to college, I didn't have God in my life. I did the college thing. I moved to California to try to make it as a rapper. I didn't have God in my life, hitting open mics. I had all these lifestyles. I wasn't even back in the church. I didn't think about God. If God isn't in your life, look, I was there. I left. I strayed from the church. But I came back so strong because his grace is amazing. It's possible for me. It's possible for you. Come on, just give it a chance. If you are thinking about going back to church, or if you're back to church and this inspires you, God bless you. Thank you for watching this. God has been so good to me, so much better than I deserve. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. But he gave it to me anyway because he loves me that much. And he's placed my pastor in my life, and priests in my life, and religious folks in my life, and friends in my life, and family in my life to support me, and I don't deserve it, bro. I was so selfish to make my dream become a reality, but he still loves me, and he still brought me back, and I'm eternally grateful. So God bless you. God took this rapper and gave him a rosary.